3, 2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back in the Azuma. The Azuma was buffed recently and I've been getting questions about it, so I figured why not jump back in it, show you guys what this thing is fully capable of, at least in my inept hands. So we'll see what we can do. Now, we're going to show a couple different builds for you guys because you can use either or depending on whether you're a free-to-play player or a person who has the commanders. Now, obviously, the best choice for commander, in my opinion, is Azure Lane Atago. Why is that? Well, let's go over it. So Azure Lane Atago, we're running Nikolai Kuznetsov and Charles Madden as our inspirations, mainly because it helps with reload and a little bit on the traverse speed. There's probably better ways to do this. You could swap this perk or this inspiration out depending on what you prefer. But yeah, you could easily swap the second inspiration out anyway. But Nikolai is definitely something you're going to want on your commander. We are running beyond range, obviously, and instead of Igniter, we have this special skill called Arsonist, which is absolutely freaking busted. It's actually more than twice as good as original Igniter. Igniter gives us a maximum of 3% to our fire chance, right? Arsonist gives us a plus 8% chance to set fires and a plus 10% chance of the main, or a plus 10% HE shells damage, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now there is a trade-off. You do take 10% more damage incoming, but seriously, that is ridiculous. Okay, this skill is insane, and I'll show you why in a minute. So we get a plus 5% chance to our HE shell, or plus 8% chance to HE shells to cause fires. And then we've got punch through, obviously, because I'm telling you, do not sleep on the AP of this ship. I explained it in the first time I took the ship out, doing over 150,000 damage, darn near dev striking a Vladivostok who thought, I'll go broadside, get all my guns to bear. Yeah, that was a bad move. So if you guys haven't seen that video, definitely recommend the Meet the Azuma video that I did. But yeah, I have played a total of 3 games in the Azuma. One was the Meet the video, and the other 2 is this. You're going to see both of them today. But the Meet the video, 150k plus video, kiting away, before it was buffed, back when it was originally released, this thing absolutely shredded at distance, kiting away, burning things to the ground. But it's hard to carry in. And this one, wait till you see the 2 videos that I got for you. I got 2 very, very good videos to showcase this ship's abilities with both HE and AP. It's fantastic. And also the strengths and the weaknesses of the ship. So I hope you guys are ready. Now, obviously, we're running Fixated as well, which gives us better accuracy out of these guns. And we have Refill Station, which is huge. Okay? Alright guys, I just realized just after I finished that recording that I didn't show the other build. So I'm going to record this, cut it in, and put it in where it's supposed to go. And hopefully with, my editing skills, I can pull that off. But yeah, we're going to showcase the other build now because I completely forgot. So let's go in here and we'll take a look. Now, I'm fairly confident it's Isiroko Yamamoto. That would be my other build. This is the standard dispersion build, Cruiser Captain. We are also running Nikolai Kuznetsov and Charles Madden. Again, you could swap the second perk or second inspiration to whatever you want. But personally, Charles Madden's a pretty decent choice because it gives you a little bit on both. Doesn't give you a lot of either, but a little bit on both kind of helps this ship out. Beyond range, Igniter, obviously not quite as good as the Arsonist, so we're going to have a lower fire chance. I have Velocious on this, and I don't know why. I would personally run the punch through skill here as well, and then of course Fixated. Now the one thing that this does come with is fully packed, which could be huge if you need that extra heal, because that will give you 4 heals on this ship, okay? Because we have 3, I'm fairly confident, we have 3, and with the other build, and because we can run fully packed here, I would run fully packed, that way you get that extra heal, okay? You also get another plane and all of that stuff too. So yeah, let's take a look at our stats real quick. With this build. Not going to make it too crazy. You got everything the same on the survivability. This is where things are a little bit different. Range is still the exact same. Reload time still the exact same. 180-degree turn time still the exact same. What changes is the fire chance, which is still 35%. What? We found a bug. We found a bug, folks. Oh, because we didn't switch. I'm an idiot. I'm like, wait, what? No. Okay, so let's put the commander on. God, I'm an idiot. All right, let's go. So reload time slightly worse. Firing range is still the same. 180-degree turn time still the same. So you got a slightly slower reload. Maximum HE shell damage is 5100 with a 30% chance to set fire. So you get a 5% less fire chance with this build as opposed to the Atago. And in that case, might not be worth it to run Atago for the Azuma. Might be better to run this because you get fully packed, which means you get that extra heal, which could come in real handy. So let me know what you guys think. Plus, you take less damage because you don't get that big 10% damage incoming damage debuff. So keep that in mind. AP shell maximum damage is the same though, and everything else should be the same. 10.9 concealment. You still have the 34 knot top speed, 9.9 rudder, 920 meter turning circle. The armor and all that's not going to change. So that's the biggest change. You get a slightly longer reload. You get an extra heal, and you get a slightly or 5% less fire chance. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I apologize that I had to cut this back in there, but I wanted to make sure we showed it for those of you who are free-to-play players. This is a free-to-play build that you could easily do yourself. Obviously, if you're free-to-play, you're not going to have the... Wait, is the Azuma available in the store? Let me double-check. Ships. Is Azuma available? Alabama's there. So yeah, Azuma... Oh, wait. This is recommended. Let's go to here. Yeah, Azuma is available. So you can get this free to play as well. And that helps with the reload as well. I think. Let me double check that. I don't want to say it wrong, but I'm pretty confident it does. Yeah. Main battery reload time is minus 5%. The special effect is when an allied ship is within 2 kilometers, you get an extra 10% range on top of that, which is pretty nice too. Again, getting up close and personal is dangerous in this ship. It does not take hits well, unless of course it's a cruiser. If you're up against a cruiser, by all means, get up close and personal, because you will punch the crap out of them, and they are going to struggle against you. Because remember, you got 305mm guns on this thing. All right, so that leads us to the build. We are running Aiming Systems Mod 1, Steering Gears Mod 2, running Concealment System Mod, and we're running Main Battery Mod 3 for the extra reload. Again, it's going to hurt our traverse speed, which is going to hurt us in this ship because it's not particularly amazing. And when you add on top of it that traverse speed, but I'm telling you, you want to get the reload as good as you can in this, because the reload is actually the worst part of this ship. Sure, it's a little bit squishy, but I mean, it's doable. You can work with this ship in some pretty tight situations. It's just that the traverse on this thing, not the greatest. And the reload, awful. But yeah. If we go in here, you can see we are running the sonar consumable, even though most of the time you're not going to have to worry about using this because you're going to be at a range that most destroyers aren't going to be coming at you. Catapult fighter, obviously, and then the 3 heals. We are running an epic battle booster as well, but we're going to take that off for the purposes of showcasing the range with this particular build without any boosters. Okay? But we will be running an epic battle booster in the game itself. Now, Alpha Test Flag doesn't do anything, it's purely cosmetic, and we are running the permanent camo that came with the ship when we bought it. Okay? Azuma, 52,500 hit points with 22% torpedo damage reduction. That's almost as good as an Iowa, man. It's pretty friggin' good for a cruiser. But remember, this thing is literally a Japanese supercruiser. It is basically a battle cruiser. It has battleship caliber, it's 310mm guns. Forgot about that. The Japanese always got to go slightly bigger than everybody else. So 310mm, 50 caliber though. Big old barrels on this sucker. Type Zeros, you get 9 of them in a standard 3x3x3 configuration. Well, you get 3x3 configuration, and you have 2 at the front, 1 at the rear, in the turrets. Okay, firing range without the epic battle booster, 18.3. With the booster, you get 18.8. Okay, now obviously I have really good commanders, so keep that in mind. Most of my commanders have been leveled up pretty high. So your results may vary slightly, but it's going to be in this wheelhouse. Reload time with this build is 19.4 seconds, which means we are under 20 seconds, which for this freaking ship is pretty solid. 180-degree turn time, 39.2 seconds. Now keep in mind, when I say that for this ship is pretty solid, it used to be like 22 seconds or something like that. It was awful. Okay? It is much better now with this build and with the buffs that it received and all of that. Not quite as good as an Alaska, but an Alaska is a legendary battle cruiser or super cruiser, okay? And it has 305mm guns. So keep that in mind. The Azuma, very good for what it is. It's just very squishy. HE shell maximum damage 5,610 with a 35% chance to set fires. Yes, you heard that correctly. 35% chance to set fires from a cruiser. That's insane. AP shell maximum damage is 9,342. What? I'm fairly confident that is the highest AP shell maximum damage on any cruiser in the game. The exception would be maybe Siegfried. Let's double check that. Before we just spout that out, let's go check out the a legendary Alaska and the Siegfried. So we will, we will pull up the Americans and the Germans so that we can check this out. So we have Siegfried's a tier 6, I forgot. Yeah, so Siegfried would be a tier 6. Oh, I don't have, no, Siegfried's a tier 7 for sure. It's a tier 7. But I don't have the Siegfried to compare. But Siegfried has 15-inch guns, so I'm fairly confident it would have a higher AP output. But if we look at the Alaska, for instance, what is its AP max damage? 9,790. Okay, so what did we say? That was 9,790. And this is 9,000. Okay, so it is slightly less than the Alaska's ridiculous shells that everybody knows and loves. So I would say it's probably in third place then. Okay, because you know you got the Alaska above it, and I'm pretty sure Siegfried is above both of those just solely due to the fact that it has 15-inch guns, which are insane. Okay, so secondaries, you have 100mm Type 98. You get 16 of those, reaching out to 5.2 kilometers, reloading in 3 seconds, firing HE with a maximum damage of 1,700 and a 14% chance to set fires. Yes, that's right. A 14% chance to set fires with 100mm guns. I know. It's stupid. That's how broken this perk is that I was talking to you about. The Arsonist perk is stupid. It's broken. Has always been broken. That's why the Atago commander doesn't come back. Atago is broken. But 25mm Type 96 Mod 1 AA defense, you get 6 by 12, so you have 12 of those reaching out to 3.1 kilometers doing 30 damage per second. Then you have the 25mm Type 96 Mod 2s that you have 24 times 3 would be 48 and 24 would be 52. 52 of doing 146 damage per second, reaching out to 3.1 kilometers. It's pretty close in air support up to that point, or anti-air. And then you have the 100mm Type 98 dual-purpose secondaries that you get 16 of, doing 166 damage per second and reaching out to 5 kilometers. Maneuverability, maximum speed, not bad at 34 knots. And remember, this is a big cruiser, all right? And because of that, she doesn't turn very well. 920 meters turning circle. That is worse than an Iowa-class battleship, so keep that in mind. But it has a much better rudder shift than an Iowa-class battleship at 9.9 seconds, meaning while it doesn't turn all the way very quickly, it is decently maneuverable in a side-to-side in a kiting position. It's not amazing, but you can work with it. Okay, concealment. Detectability by sea is 10.9, which is fantastic for a ship of this size. Detectability by air is 6.9. Guaranteed is always 2. And the detectability while firing in smoke is 9.7 kilometers. So, yeah, and remember, battleship caliber guns. That's why that's so high. But armor. This is where things go horribly wrong. Now, it does have 32 millimeters of bow armor, but it's only at the belt. It's only at the waterline. Everywhere else is going to be less than that. But 32 millimeter bow, okay, on a cruiser is insane. But again, it's a very small sliver, so the only time that's going to come into play is against things at close range that decide to shoot straight through the bow at the waterline. If they know better, they'll aim higher, which is 27 millimeters, which means you can bow tank 15-inch guns, okay? 15-inch guns cannot go through your bow, which is huge because that's a huge amount of ships that just get taken out at tier 6 and 7 that you will be able to bow tank, and they can't really do anything to you with AP. Okay, so keep that in mind. Bow in, this ship is not that bad. Okay, we get rid of that, and we look at the side armor. You can see we have 27 millimeters on the side as well. We have 30 millimeter bottom. I don't know why that's there. Maybe for deep water torpedoes, but yeah. 27 millimeter side armor. Again, if you angle well, you're going to be okay. But if you get caught, these sides are not that angled. You can see up front, it's kind of angled, but then as you get towards the center of the ship, it gets less angled. You see how flat that is? That means that guns that are 15 inches and above, even though they don't overmatch you, will still likely go through that at very angles that you wouldn't expect them to, as we're going to showcase in the first one. Now, obviously, 16-inch guns overmatch anyway, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. So if we get rid of that, get rid of the superstructure armor, we don't care about that. The armor belt here is 27 millimeters as well. So that's, again, what we just talked about. It's not the like most angled stuff, especially towards the center of the ship, which is where most people are aiming for because they want to citadel you. Okay, so keep that in mind. And here's the biggest issue with this particular ship, and that is the raised citadel. Look how much of your citadel is sticking above the waterline. That is ridiculous. And this is why the Azuma gets depth struck so often when people go broadside. Okay, or just over angle in general, because battleships do not care. And remember, it's got that same Japanese like sloping that you get caught through the cheeks and get citadeled through because it's flat, just like the Yami. Not quite as big and pronounced as the Yamis. Obviously, it's a much narrower ship, but same sort of concept. And the same thing at the back. You can see it's got the same sort of funky rear issues to go on. So you've got to be very careful when you're taking hits, especially from battleships or even cruisers that have battleship caliber guns, such as Alaska. Des Moines obviously is nasty. Mino is nasty, even though they have smaller guns. But Siegfried and Alaska for sure, Stalingrad, all those sorts of battleship caliber guns and above will absolutely mess you up if you over angle. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that, right? Everybody's going to play this ship to the best of its ability. So let's get to the overview. Big guns. The ship is armed with high caliber main battery guns. This is a battle cruiser or a super cruiser. It is a cruiser that is armed with battleship caliber guns, okay? Sure shot. Shells with a good ballistic trajectory maintain velocity, making aiming easier. Now, this is something that nobody talks about with this ship. And I mean nobody. I haven't heard anyone in all of the videos that I've watched people play the Azuma, haven't heard anybody talk about the shell velocity on these freaking things. This thing is freaking rail guns more often than not. It's not the most accurate guns in the world, especially at range. But the shells are not that slow. They get to the target relatively quickly, meaning you can hit even faster targets at medium to long range relatively consistently. And when you hit, people know, because the HE is nasty in this ship, as we've already described, and the AP is just as nasty, if not nastier. So don't sleep on the AP of this ship, and we'll showcase both in the coming game. And then Pyromania, above average chance of HE to cause fire. Azuma, a powerful high-speed ship, Project B-65, designed to destroy American heavy cruisers and confront Alaska-class large cruisers. Some design solutions were borrowed from Yamato-class battleships, as we've already discussed. She was armed with 9 310mm guns and had good anti-torpedo protection. She was designed in 1941, but she was never built. All right, so let's take a look at this, what I consider a pretty decent-looking super cruiser. I mean, I'll be honest, this is a pretty good-looking ship. I like this ship a lot. And I actually liked it before it was buffed. I didn't play it much because, I mean, it's not really my playstyle. But I like the ship overall. It does what you need it to do and can be very, very nasty when people decide that they can sleep on this ship. But, yeah, I think it's a pretty solid, good-looking ship, and it performs, especially after the buffs, very, very well. Ain't nobody can get into this thing now and go, well, it's a crap ship. It's not. This thing slaps. And it doesn't matter which way you decide to use it. HE spammer, AP spammer, doesn't matter. This thing is nasty. So, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so in this first video, we are going to be on Land of Fire. And again, we are in the Azuma. You guys know what it is. We're going to go out here. We're going to do the best we can to not get dev struck and sent back to port as quickly as possible. That's the goal. Now, remember, I didn't really go over all of the buffs that this ship received. I believe we did that in the patch notes recently. So if you want to check out what buffs the Azuma got, check out the patch notes. But let's just put it this way. Azuma, pretty solid nowadays. Not gonna lie. It's no longer the awful piece of junk that it used to be. And I say that being that I only played one match prior to the buff, and I did 150 some odd thousand damage and absolutely punished people in a ridiculous game on Tears of the Desert. If you guys remember the Meet the Azuma video. It was literally my first game in the Azuma ever, and I was like, I don't hate this thing. But, that being said, it's definitely better now than it used to be. And that's, you know, that's a good thing. This thing needed a little bit of love. Did they overdo it? I mean, it's wargaming we're talking about. That's what they do. Let's be real. If something needs nerfed, they overdo it. If something needs buffed, they overdo it. They can't do little things to kind of, you know, ease its way in. It's all or nothing. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, we do not want to be at the front at the beginning of the match. The reason being is we don't have any idea what we're up against yet. So we want to be a little bit patient here. We want to set ourselves up in a position where we can potentially kite. And that way, when somebody does get spotted and we start shooting, we can have an out. Okay, first things first, we got Montana here. I'm not gonna lie. I vastly underestimated how far away from the island this Montana was. So we take a shot at him, we get a very good result. We get 2 fires. That's going to be a guaranteed damage con. That's 8,000 damage plus 2 fires. Tell me again that the Azuma's bad. That's just HE. That wasn't even the AP. Now, I thought that the Montana had beached here, so I'm going to go ahead and fire some shots into the island, or over the island, in the general direction of where I thought the Montana was. And we're going to miss every one of those shots. And in the return, we're going to get people shooting at us. Now, obviously, we're keeping our distance. Like, we're a long ways away, so we've got plenty of time to get out of the way of shots if they come. Now, we got to be careful. We don't want to run into the border of the map. And you can see as I'm starting to turn in here, I'm outside of my spotting range. And that's when the Kaba gets spotted. I'm like, oh, don't mind if I do, Mr. Kaba. How are you going to enjoy this HE salvo from an Azuma? Now, he gets moving just in time to only, like, take nothing there. Like, he just got that thing into reverse, and as soon as I fired, he was able to stop going in reverse and go forward quick enough to not take a hit. But the beauty of these shells is, like I said, they are pretty quick, which means it is pretty easy. Even at 13.6 kilometers away from a very fast destroyer, we're able to land hits relatively consistently when we place the shot. Even with my suspect aim, we land a pretty solid hit, knocking out a torp tube and doing 2 full penetrations worth of damage, bringing up another 3,000 damage or so. Now, Kaba's going to settle in behind that island. I'm not going to be able to shoot him. We're going to bounce off the edge of the map here, which is not preferable. Could have gone horribly wrong as we were firing our guns at people. But luckily for us, the battleships on the enemy team just decided to disengage and keep their distance. Which is good because when a battleship starts shooting into Azuma, you start to get scared. I'm not going to lie. It is terrifying. Because you know that the Azuma is one bad move away from going back to port. It's just the way it is. You gotta get used to it. Okay? Some ships are just... Depth strikes waiting to happen, and the Azuma is one of them. Basically, any Japanese cruiser, for that matter, is one of them. British cruisers, for that matter, are as well. It's like, there are a few cruisers in the game that are just almost guaranteed depth strikes if you get a chance to shoot their broadside. And we start to light up on the Cleveland. You can see I'm like, okay, I've got a job to do. It's time to intercept this Cleveland. I got to try to protect my battleships. Now, my battleships went full ham right up in there. They saw the Kaba, and look at how much damage they've taken pushing straight up in there. Now, this Balti on this side is going to have himself a pretty solid game as well. But this Balti actually could have done a lot more in this one to help me out, and you'll see what I mean when we get there. But Kaba comes out. He's got a Balti in front of him. He's got 2 battleships. He's got me shooting at him. Like you would think, and this is AP, by the way. Not because I wanted to shoot AP at a destroyer, but you did see we did get a 1700 damage overpin on him. So we can't really complain there. But yeah, it's not that I wanted to shoot at the Kaba with AP. It's just that I had AP loaded at the time because I had anticipated this fight with the Cleveland. Now the Cleveland is angled away. We don't overmatch him. Remember, we don't overmatch him. So we want to aim towards the superstructure and upper side plating to try to get those penetrations when he overangles. He wants to get all of his firepower to bear because he knows his little 152mm guns are just no match for the 310mm guns that I have on the front of mine. So if he stays bow in and limits himself to the amount of hit or the amount of damage output that he gets from the front guns, he's just not going to have a competitive fight with me. You couple that with the fact that we got the heals, and we're not going to have any trouble tanking his HE spam while we do this. However, Montana, 19 kilometers away, cannot refuse to shoot at a broadside of an Azuma. And because of that, I managed to stop dodging long enough to get set on fire twice by the Cleveland, and suddenly we're starting to have a little bit of trouble. So you can see a little bit less fun was had at this moment. Now, we get another good salvo, and again, showcasing the AP of this ship against the cruiser that overangles. You can see Cleveland's still trying to go for that kill, but he's not going to get it. He's just not. He's in trouble. He knows he's in trouble. He's trying to dodge, but I'm not going to give him the easy kill, or I'm not going to let him get away, essentially. He thinks he can dodge. He thinks he can get all fancy and stuff, but at the end of the day, like, it's pretty obviously what you're doing. I fire behind him here. I believe he starts charging forward. I should have went to HE at this point, because I guarantee would have killed him with an HE salvo at this point. Like, there's no way he survives HE from an Azuma's 310mm guns. But he turns out, and we managed to punch him just hard enough to leave him alive. And keep that in mind, because this is going to be kill number 1 for Mr. Yoinker in the Balti. Wait for it, and bonk. I'm telling you, keep an eye on this Balti. As good a game as he ends up having, like, just keep an eye on this man. Because I swear, it's like he waits for the moment to actually shoot to get the kill. He doesn't actually seem to help a whole lot with the overall damage of the kill. But he does come in at the very last second to try to yoink that. Now, Montana, he's obviously the biggest threat here. There is an Alaska, but Alaska isn't a threat to me. He doesn't overmatch me, and I actually have bigger guns than Alaska. So I'm not afraid of Alaska in this situation. I am terrified of a Montana. That is 12 406mm 50 caliber guns with super heavy ammunition. I would rather not take those hits. So here's going to be the perfect example of catching really good ammo at a pretty solid angle and negating most of the damage. Okay? It could have been a lot worse. Remember, that's American super heavy AP being shot at us from those 16-inch 50 caliber guns. They have stupid penetration angles. And to play around with that in an Azuma is dangerous, especially considering you know that he overmatches your 27mm of armor. So you can't take it on the bow, you can't take it on the side. You basically have to pray to God that you catch it at a specific angle and you don't get absolutely punished for it. Now we reach out, we touch the Azuma here, or the Alaska, and we start getting punished by a freaking second Cleveland. This Cleveland is really causing me some issues as we start to try to reach out and hit this Montana, but we over-angle and he makes us pay, giving us a Citadel. Actually, I don't think it was a Citadel. I think it was 2 penetrations stacked on each other, giving him 10,000 plus damage. But you can see we leave the Montana in true Spartan fashion on just enough for somebody else to yoink. And that's number 2 for the Balti. So remember, at the end of the day, how much damage this guy is doing to these guys. He's not getting crap out of these guys. I am doing all of the damage to these people. I have done all the damage with the fires. Now, obviously, Montana did take some damage from others, probably the battleships. Maybe the Balti did get some damage on him after I got him to damage con early. I don't know. But we're going to work together to try to get rid of this Alaska. This Alaska is going to play the absolute worst play that he could possibly play in this situation. And that is to go broadside to both me and the Balti. That's stupid. Now, I had HE loaded, but you can see I am immediately loading AP. I'm like, go ahead. Give me a broadside again, and I will absolutely punish you. Now, because we've got the AP loading, there's a Cleveland about to rush us, and you can see I'm like, I really want to shoot this guy, but I've got to hold the fire because the Cleveland's about to come around the corner, and I need to have this shot ready to go. Now, you can see Balti shooting HE at a freaking Cleveland irritates the crap out of me. But Cleveland comes in, he's angled, so I know I can Citadel him. We hit him with 2 Citadels for over 20,000 damage, and we're backing off. Balti's still shooting HE at the broadside of a Cleveland, which is, again, infuriating because the Balti has ridiculously good AP if he would just learn to use it. But Cleveland gets caught by him, and then, of course, we're going to get this kill, finally getting our first kill of the game. We're able to damage con that. We've got just 2,500 hit points. And this is where that extra heal would have come in real clutch. Not gonna lie, if we had one more heal, I think that there's a very real possibility that I was able to pull this off. Because not only did we manage to get rid of the Clevelands, but this Alaska, like I said, is going to make the dumbest plays I've ever seen in my life. Now watch how many shells are coming in at this Alaska. Okay, the Balti should have a fire rate of around 9 seconds. Like a shot every 9 seconds. That is about twice as fast as what I can put out. Okay? And if he loads AP, sure he's getting some fire damage right now, but if he loads AP, he's citadeling that Alaska, or at least getting full penetrations of 8,000 to 9,000 damage salvos on the broadside of that Alaska. But the Balti just sits there. Now the Balti can bow tank the Alaska, which is another thing that infuriates me, just like the Azuma can. The Alaska loads AP more often than not, because it's got ridiculous AP rounds, just like the Balti. Now, Alaska starts coming around the corner. I know that I'm going to mangle this guy. And I think he knows it too, which is why he's trying to slow down, but he realizes he screws up a little too late. And he is broadside to 310mm guns, and we put the shot exactly where we need to, and all of the shells except 2 of them fall short. Now I know Wargaming, that's just my bad aim at 2.4 kilometers away. How could I miss that target? I mean, that was just terrible aim by me, right? That isn't the game's stupid-ass mechanic fucking me once again with stupid bullshit. Now, I apologize for the language, but that is irritating as crap. There's no reason that that should happen in a game. There's none. But Balti has taken all of his health and damage. Why? Because he just sailed out broadside in front of the fucking Alaska. Like, where is the thought process? He literally just sailed broadside out in front of the Alaska. Now, we punched the Alaska superstructure, leaving him with nothing, and the Balti's able to snipe another kill. Okay? Now, Balti has no health. We don't have any health. We're in a world of hurt. But if we had one more heal, maybe we could pull this off. Because the only thing that's left is a Mogami and a King George. Now, the King George is actually the bigger threat here because the King George has HE and is going to be firing HE at us. The Mogami is actually, for whatever reason, going to load AP. And it's pretty hilarious. Now, I knew that the Mogami was behind us. I knew that the King George was behind us. I was trying to get my guns around and reverse my ship so that I could get shots into this guy, anticipating him to go, like, as stupid as possible. But he actually does the right thing. He goes bow in. Why? Because I don't overmatch him. Even with battleship caliber guns, I don't overmatch his armor. And the King George is able to reach out over the island, punch me, and the Balti dies to a freaking Mogami, which is embarrassing. But it is to be expected he had no health, which is what happens when you pull out broadside in front of an Alaska. But we end up with over 119,000 damage in our first game back in the buffed Azuma. That's not bad. But wait, there's more. Remember? Double feature. We're going to be on Two Brothers. And again, we are going to fight our backsides off and try to carry this team to a victory. You know that you're having a bad game when an Azuma is trying to carry the team. Is all I'm saying. Okay? Out of all the ships in the game, the Azuma is not the one that should be carrying a legendary tier match. But that's what's going to happen in this game. We are going to carry, and ultimately fall short. Because Azuma just can't quite carry. It's just too squishy. And we're going to showcase that in this video as well. So, right off the bat, we don't have a destroyer, okay? There's a lot of cruisers, a lot of battleships, but no destroyers. So the last thing I want to do in a squishy ship is to put myself in the middle of the open against that many potential battleships and cruisers. Okay, it just doesn't end well for you. So I'm going to hold tight. I'm not going to run away. I am just simply putting myself in a position that I can use the island for cover and keep myself from necessarily being spotted, while my teammates in the two battleships to my right could potentially spot the enemy ship and start engaging. And that keeps us alive long enough to actually be effective in this match. Or so the plan was. So yeah, we're just waiting at this point. When you get games like this that are no destroyers, it's going to take a little bit of time before you start to see people. Now, we already are looking. We got a Turpitz coming forward. You know he's going to YOLO rush because he's a Turpitz. And then you got a Mino swinging out wide. Now, the Mino is actually a problem for me. Not because I'm particularly worried that he's a Mino, but I'm actually worried about him spotting me on my next salvo, which is why I'm starting to move forward. Now, we hit this freaking Turpitz, showcasing the AP of this thing. We hit him for 8,000 damage with 5 penetrations. That's ridiculous. That's not bad. This is a Turpitz. It's a German heavy battleship, right? So we take another shot at the Turpitz just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. We're aiming superstructure this time, 7,100 damage. It's like, okay, Azuma. I see you. 2 salvos in. We got 15,000 damage. AP only. You love to see it. Now, remember what I said about that Mino. Mino's got us spotted right now, and the Turpitz is charging forward. Well, the Turpitz initially is worried about the battleships, but we keep hitting him for 7,000 or 8,000 damage a salvo, and suddenly he's like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this motherfucking Azuma. That's his thought process at this point. So he takes a shot at us. He clips our superstructure, but no real damage. He turns out, and this is the worst thing he could do, give me a better angle to put these big 310mm guns into, and we make him pay for it with another 8,000 damage chunk. And at this point, he's like, dude, this guy's hitting me harder with the Azuma right now than the battleships are. I need to actually pay attention to the Azuma. And you can see my armor's good enough. I got 27mm everywhere. So as long as I angle relatively well, he doesn't get significant damage off of us. In return for a rear shot that did 3,000 damage, he takes shots from the battleships and gets smashed. And then we hit him for another 4,300 with the front guns. So you can see, we are just stacking up 7,000 to 8,000 damage per salvo when we fire all of our guns. And it's just not a long, it's a very short game for a Turpitz, because then he's forced to turn away from us, and that leaves him dead on broadside to 2 battleships and the Brandenburg, so a third battleship. Now, Gross occur first, I'm not gonna lie. I saw him coming, knew he was coming. We fired the AP out of it, and we go ahead and switch over to the HE, because we know a bow in Kerr first is going to be a difficult sink. So we need to start farming this man for fires, right? And look at where we're positioned. He's just behind that island. My teammates are spotting him, but he cannot spot me, which is huge. And because the Turpitz is already dead, and the Mino's behind the island out there on the right, we're not actually able to be detected here, which means we get to sit here in the comfort of our own island, essentially, and do whatever we please to this Kerr first. Now you can see he is struggling a little bit. He's having to reverse. He's got torpedoes inbound, which I imagine he's going to take at least one. There's one torpedo, so you know that that's probably a damage con. It looks like he's on fire. He's got a good chance for a flood going as well, and by as quickly as his health is deteriorating, he's got a lot of trouble. And then we take a shot at him with our HE, and of course, you know, 35% chance to set fire, and we don't get a fire. I know, right? Now, I know he's on fire already, so maybe there's just too many fires and we hit a spot that is already on fire. It's a possibility. But, yeah, we're going to continue to try to farm him. You can see as he reverses, he does get us spotted, and I'm extremely worried that he's going to take the easy way out and try to shoot me. But in his credit, he actually doesn't, which is probably the worst thing he could do, is to not shoot me, because I am the one that still has an angle on him as he's reversed around the corner here. And you can see he's starting to change his mind. He's like, you know what, I am going to shoot at this Azuma after all. And that's when I realized that this guy is not only shooting at me, but he's going to shoot HE at me as we get a fire on him, finally. Our first fire of the game, and I look and I'm like, I ain't even got anything to worry about. He just fired HE at me. That's hilarious. And on top of that, Kerr first misses. We take another shot out at him, and I believe that's going to be the kill shot. 3 more hits with the HE, and down he goes. Now, we have a friendly battleship pushing up on the enemy team, and this is what I don't understand. You're in a Conqueror. I get that you have super heals. Conqueror, not the tankiest battleship in the world. Why are you front and center with an Ochakov on one side, a Siegfried, and a battleship on the other side, or 2 battleships on the other side? Like, you have to, like, pay attention. You can't always push into that. Now, if he had stopped short and used the island cover to draw the enemy to him, then I would have a different argument for it. Then he could have focused the Ochakov, potentially. If the Ochakov's behind the island, then I guess he wouldn't be able to do that. We're going to take a shot at Ochakov. Ochakov's reversing and is outside our range, so I don't expect to hit him, and we don't, in fact, hit him. But we're trying to anticipate, or trying to intercept him, is what I meant to say. We're going to try to intercept him. Our team's actually done pretty well up to this point, dealing with the enemy rushing. The Mino went down, the Tirpitz went down, the GK went down. That's huge. But then we start losing battleships. The guys that were on the right, gone. The Conqueror, gone. And so, like, we start losing people left, right, and center. And suddenly I'm going to find myself getting shot at by a Montana. Again, Montana fires over 2 ships to shoot me all the way over here at 18 kilometers. Like, really? That's the Spartan effect if I've ever seen it. Or it's the effect of having a very squishy target that everybody knows that they have a chance to depth strike, and they're like, ooh, I gotta shoot that. So I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But Montana comes around the corner. He's gonna start pushing in on these guys, and look at his angle right now. He is begging for it, and I can't really shoot him because I have to worry about the Siegfried. Once I get spotted, the Siegfried has 15-inch guns, and he's going to mangle me. Now, we have AP loaded. I'm not exactly sure how well the AP is going to do against the Siegfried. I know the Siegfried has really good side armor, but not very good armor everywhere else. And the Ochakov is right here. So we have to get in a position where this Ochakov isn't going to punch us right in the mouth. And you can see he is trying to burn us down, which is actually preferable in this situation. Remember, we got those 3 heals. But he's going to try to burn us down, and we're going to be shooting AP back at him. And we're not the only one. As we catch him, we get his attention, and our battleship or our cruiser just punched him right in the kisser. That man lost all of his health, solely due to the fact that he was tunnel visioned on us and wasn't paying attention. But of course, he tries to go close to the island. It doesn't matter. He's too close. He's not going to be able to dodge this. And down he goes. And of course, we get the fire on that salvo. Now here I make a pretty stupid move. I use the damage con when the fire literally had like 0.6 seconds left before it went out. That's just stupid on my part. The good news is it's a freaking damage control for a cruiser, so it's really not that big a deal. By the time I end up getting the need to use it again, I should be fine. But we go over to try to help our Montana, or help get rid of the Montana, because it's obviously a big threat. And you can see the amount of damage we're able to stack up with even 3 penetrations of HE. He's burning, He's probably not long for this world. Alaska manages to kill him. And then, of course, we have the Siegfried. Now, here is the funny thing. We have a Siegfried with 15-inch guns, an Alaska with 305s, and an Azuma with 310s. And we're all in a triangle. And the bad news is for the Siegfried, he's in between an Alaska and an Azuma, and he can't bow tank us both. Which means he has overextended his play. And he's actually doing the right thing here. He can't worry about me. Okay? He has to charge that Alaska. Now, obviously, I'm going to farm him the crap out of him. I'm not likely to kill him. I'm very unlikely to Citadel him at this angle. We are getting very good pins on him. But he charges the Alaska. Alaska takes a hit from somebody and inevitably takes the torpedoes from the freaking Siegfried. Because the Alaska didn't anticipate the Siegfried launching torpedoes for some god unknown reason. Now, the two battleships fell back to defend their cap from the guy that went up the middle, which again, I have no idea why that battleship charged up the middle solo this late in the match when he could have stayed back, helped defend the cap, and kept that Alaska alive, kept this Siegfried out, and then it would have been the three of us versus the enemy team, and that would have been a much better fight. But unfortunately, that's not what happens. He charges in, and he's getting obliterated by everybody on the enemy team. And that leaves a Des Moines, a Siegfried, a Flounder, and a Lion versus an Azuma. Solo warrior inbound? Not likely. Okay, now we get a very good shot of HE here, but unfortunately they just clipped the island and missed him. It's real unfortunate. I thought I could get that extra hit on him and potentially save myself from getting hit. And I know he's got 15-inch guns. I know it's dangerous, but I also know that I have 27 millimeters of armor. So I know that he doesn't overmatch me. So as long as I don't get caught, I should be able to tank most of his hits. No problem. But I'm also sailing full broadside, expecting him to not be right there, and he surprises me and catches me full broadside, and I pay for it. He gets one full Citadel and a couple of penetrations to go for it. Now we smack him right back with our HE, and you know he's dead. He's beached. He can't go anywhere, so he's gonna be dead if we can finish him off here. Now, all we need is a good fire. We've already knocked out so many things that if we get a good fire, he's dead, right? And I'm feeling pretty solid about that fire. I'm like, oh, good. I don't have to engage him again. He's going to die. And that's when I realized that the damage is no longer ticking up, meaning he damage conned the fire. So he held his damage con until he got set on fire, which is huge. A lot of people, when they lose a torp tube or they lose like steering or something like that, they'll hurry up and they'll damage con just without thinking. And this guy actually did a right thing and held his damage con for the inevitable fire, and that saves his life. If he had burned his damage con too early, he burns to death right there. But because he didn't, he actually survives with the slimmest margin of health possible and is able to regroup with his team with a Des Moines, a Flounder, and a Lion to come back out and punch me in the mouth. Now, at this point, I know that I've lost. There's nothing I can do. They have the points lead. There's just no winning this more than likely. But there's a little bit of hope in that hopefully these guys have lost some health. And if they have, there's a chance. There's always a chance, right? Now, Lion comes out. He's got very little health. And I'm like, okay, we actually have a chance here. But the Lion is most likely running an Azure Lane Nelson build with HE, and he punches me something fierce with his HE. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. I was really hoping he'd be shooting AP, and unfortunately that's not the case. And then the Flounder comes out, and he's like, yeah, I'll help you, no problem. And then the Des Moines comes out, and it's like, wow, they really did just regroup their entire team on me. And on top of that, these guys get close enough to one another that they're will to rebuilding each other, and I'm not able to finish these guys off. Flounder gets a very nice salvo into me because I'm over-angled, trying to finish off this Lion, and now that will to rebuild is likely, well, if he's running Azure Lane Nelson, he doesn't have will to rebuild, so that's why I keep firing at him, hoping, because I assumed that he had Azure Lane Nelson. And, yeah, you can see I'm trying to dodge because out of everything that's here right now shooting me, the biggest threat to me is the HE of the Lion as well as the AP from the Des Moines. So you can see I'm smashing that superstructure of the Lion. I'm dodging the shells from the Lion, but I'm running out of room. There's only so much room that you've got here. Des Moines hitting me with HE actually is doing significant amounts of damage with that American's high capacity HE. And you can see we're kind of abusing physics a little bit. We have no choice. We have to put that out. And then, of course, the Lion manages to put his fire out, and then we immediately get set on fire. And I know it's death at this point. So we take another shot, but those shells are never going to reach the target. We did everything in our power to carry this team. 163,000 damage done. A lot of that with AP rather than HE. So hopefully you guys got to see the strengths and the weakness of the new buffed Azuma. While I still think it's a very solid ship, it's just the carry potential is just not there for me. It's just too squishy. But let me know what you guys think about the buffed Azuma down in the comments below. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.